How we doing, guys? And welcome back to the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. During the month of August, we've been taking our journeys through each and every division, and we saved the best for last. I'm talking about the NFC East, the home of the most Super Bowl champions, the Lombardi winners. We also have a team that has a great deal of crossover success. I'm not going to name them. You know who they are. Five-time Super Bowl champion Dallas Cowboys reside in this division. 3 in the 70s, 2 in the 90s. The New York Football Giants. 3 in the 70s.
2 in the 70s, 3 in the 90s.
Oh, Jackie Smith didn't catch that pass? You like that, right? Yeah.
Right in his hands, too.
Yeah, man. Barry Switzer was able to win a Super Bowl with that 95 squad against the great Neil O'Donnell and Cordell when he used to go by Slash. Cowboys are 5-time champions of the NFL. New York Football Giants, only team to win a bowl in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010s. The Washington Commanders, formerly the football team, formerly the Redskins, they have 3 Super Bowls, most recently 1992. They also won with Doug Williams. Doug Williams was the first African-American quarterback to win a Super Bowl. We have the Philadelphia Eagles, who won in 2017 against Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and the New England Patriots. Golf clap. They did it when Brady was 40. We did it when he was in his 20s and 30s. That was their first league championship since defeating the great Vince Lombardi. So let's just say Philly waited a while.
Yeah. They're going to wait longer.
Yeah, but, got to say the truth. They are the most recent champion in our division. As always, we start from the bottom and we move up to the top. Oh, by the way, I'm here with Zappy and Idris. I forgot to introduce them. You know who these guys are. My apologies. Yeah, some characters here. We're starting with the New York Football Giants. As you can see, I listed some of their key additions as well as some of their key losses. Finished 4th last year. Terrible season. Reason for hope, though. Idris, I'm starting with you, pal. How do you feel about the state of the New York Football Giants going into Tennessee 9/11, Week 1, and beyond?
I feel confident. From what I've seen in the preseason, we look good. We look like we have some fight in us. We look like we had the fight that we had when we first got Joe Judge. Because when we had Joe Judge, when he first came in, we played like we wanted to win. We didn't win, but we played from wire to wire. And I see that same thing in the preseason. It's just preseason, I think we have 3 quarterbacks that can get it done. Webb surprised me. He looks good. He looks better than he ever looked.
Well, a lot of people thought that he was actually going to be the successor after Eli because this is his second stint with the Giants.
Right. And Tyrod Taylor. He can get it done. He has poise in the pocket. He can move. He can throw. He doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. People forget that. The guy can throw the ball. I saw some stuff in Daniel Jones that I think he can. Like the interception he threw last week, that wasn't on him. It went right through the receiver's hands. 14 of 16. Yeah, it's a good number.
Galladay always does get every little bit to catch the ball. He would never alligator arm one.
Oh, no, not one.
That guy earned the bag, man. He goes out of his way.
Yeah, but we got a Julian Edelman.
Yes, I'm glad.
I like him. He has fire. He's enthused. He looks like he wants to play some football.
He belongs on this team, and with Cullen Johnson's injury, he's going to get his opportunity. I think he's going to get his opportunity.
The way he plays like Julian Edelman.
Yeah, I like him. I like him off the jump. It's
and I like our backup at Williams at running back. The spell Barkley. So I think we'll do good. Like I said, I'm looking at 7 to 8 games winning. Thibodeau, we're gonna miss him probably the first game, maybe the second game, but he'll be back. And we've seen what he can do. He can jump that line. We still got Lennon Williams, Dexy. You know, we lost Logan Ryans. We lost Bradbury. We lost Peppers. Peppers was already gone anyway. We had lost him for the season.
Yeah. It didn't make any sense for the Giants to reinvest. And I like Peppers, but to me, he's the same exact player as Landon Collins, except maybe a little more versatile in the sense that he can return punts.
Yeah.
But I'm talking they are literally the same player.
We're going to miss Logan Ryan's leadership. You know, James Bradbury, he's pretty good corner.
That's the guy out of all three that I think we missed the most.
Yeah. But I think we'll be okay. Julian Love, he can play safety. He can play corner. And, X-Man is back there. X-Man.
Notre Dame. Julian Love of Notre Dame.
Yeah, the Irish. X-Man, he's coming to his own. He last year showed his ass. He showed what he can do while we drafted him. So I think we'll be good. We're going to have our struggles, but we won't look like we looked last year. We won't look like that.
Zappy, what are your thoughts on the New York Football Giants before I chime in?
I'm going to be honest. I'm not sold on them by any means. Brian Dable did come over from Buffalo, and I think that's a good addition of a head coach. But normally whenever you get a new head coach, you're going to get a new quarterback because he wants his quarterback. In rare occasions, you'll see the new coach, keep the current quarterback because he's a franchise quarterback. I don't believe Daniel Jones is a franchise quarterback at all. For that reason, I think you guys are actually going to lose more games than you should win. And I do understand he has shown more promise, and he didn't look too bad last year, but the turnovers were still an issue with him. And then you look at defensively, you lost a couple of key players in Bradbury and Ryan, and those are losses that I believe hurt you guys right now, but it'll help you later. For me, I look at the Giants and I see a team that's building to win in 2 years, not yet. Obviously, if they can address the quarterback position, and if we can get the old Saquon Barkley back, and that's the other question mark we have. So yeah, when I look at the Giants from top to bottom on their roster, their schedule. I'm not sold on a lot of things. I still need to see more from Daniel Jones, and unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see very much more, if anything at all. You do have Tyrod Taylor sitting in the background where he can win some games if he needs to come in, but there's a reason why he is what he is. That's a backup quarterback. So I could see Daniel Jones coming back on a 2-year deal possibly and still draft the quarterback and use Daniel as that bridge. But no, going forward for this year, I have the Giants as a 5-12 team, possibly 6-11. I think they'll be in more games, but I just don't think they'll have that finishing factor.
All right. Thibodeau, you mentioned Thibodeau, Idris. I think his comeback game will be week 3 just because on the precautious side, and also because it's a Monday game against Zappy's Cowboys. I agree with some of what you said, not all of it. I'm going to start with the quarterback position with Daniel Jones. Turnovers, you made mention of. This is how I view him. While I do believe that he has to get better at feeling the pocket collapsing, I also believe that with historically bad offensive lines that this team has had prior to addressing it this offseason, Mark Lewinsky, John Feliciano, joining Andrew Thomas.
And Evan Neal.
And, of course, Evan Neal, yeah. Their second draft pick after Thibodeau. I do believe that is massive because Jones isn't going to hurt you on the interceptions. He has a solid interception to touchdown ratio. It is the fumbles that have hurt him. I do tend to believe that with the improved offensive line, he's going to be a little more comfortable back there. He still has to learn the playbook completely. But the beautiful thing about this is that for the first time in his career, he actually has a modern offense.
Yep.
He did perform well in year 1 under Pat Shurmur. I actually think the Giants pulled the rug on Shurmur a little too early. Having said that, I don't think Pat Shurmur was head coach material, so there's a couple of ways to look at that. We all know how everything ended with Joe Judge. Giants played inspired football. They liked him. He was a likable guy, but by year 2, it was painfully obvious that he aced his interview but that he was not the coach that they thought they were getting. And he joined the long list of New England assistants, with the exception of probably Brian Flores, who have had some legit success away from Bill Belichick. As far as the here and now, as far as this year, I do expect Saquon Barkley to get a massive workload. I do like the Matt Breida pickup. I think he's going to serve well on third downs. And I also like Gary Brightwell. As far as the receiving corps goes, definitely concerns about Kadarius Toney's health. But what I am thankful for is that Sterling Shepard, who is probably in his final year, and the man who's going to replace him, Wan'Dale Robinson, all do something similar to what Toney brings to the table. Kenny Galladay's got to earn some of that money. The good news on Galladay is most of that money is escalator money. A lot of people look at these contracts and they just see the O's at the end and they assume that it's all his. That is not the case. Having said that, I do think Galladay's going to have a bounce-back year. No, he's not going to have the year that he had with Stafford in Detroit. I like the first half of the Giants' schedule. Second half gets a lot more difficult. And then you factor in that this is a team that still has to learn how to win games. I don't think it's inconceivable to think that this team could be 5-3 at the midway point, or even 6-3 for that matter. But having said that, I do think the second half is going to bring a lot of challenges. On the optimistic end of things, I'm going to go 8-9. Daniel Jones is going to throw for under 30 touchdowns. I'm going to say about 27 TDs against 14 INTs, which I do think will instill enough confidence in the organization to give him, to Idris's point, a short deal. By no means do I think that makes him safe for the long term. But there is that possibility that if the Giants like somebody in the draft, and even if Jones has a decent year, they still might want to move on. Before I move on to the next team, one last thing I would like to say. Josh Allen and Daniel Jones's first 38 starts, from a statistical standpoint, are incredibly scary close. And 3 head coaches, 4 OCs, 3 seasons. I don't give a shit who you are. It is hard to have continuity that way. Not making excuses for him, but that is an undeniable fact.
It's true.
But you also got to look at the level of competition, and that's another big one too.
Yeah, Duke is the basketball school, and that was always a joke. And then, Giant fans are still traumatized by the Dave Brown years when they had the audacity to cut Phil Simms. Last thing I want to say, I'll move over to the defense quickly.
Dave Brown.
I think Kayvon Thibodeau, even though he's going to miss the first couple of starts of the year, I am going to say this right now. I think he's breaking the Giants' rookie sack record. I got him going for 12.5, despite missing the first 2 weeks. I think he'll be trailed by Azeez Ojulari, who will get in between 8 and 9. We're going to be hurting at cornerback 2. James Bradbury was cornerback 1. That pushed Adoree to 1. Me personally, I would like to see Darnay Holmes take over cornerback 2. He was predominantly our slot corner. But for now, it's Robinson out of UCF. He had some promising moments last year, but he is not the answer. So, yes, I am concerned about that. Wink Martindale is going to bring an aggressiveness to this unit that while they are going to get burned on some over-schemed blitzes, and the linebacking corps, with the exception of Blake Martinez and LW, does lack some talent. Beavers is out for the year. We're going to have some issues there, but I do believe the Giants, first and second down, are still very stingy against the run. And I also believe that as the year continues to move along, that secondary is going to start trusting each other, and they're going to grow as a unit. Optimistically, I'm going 8-9, third place finish in the NFC East. And I do think the Giants are going to give fans something to root for and hope for in the immediate future.
Yeah, I agree. The Commanders.
Finished third last year, missed the playoffs. Key additions, Carson Wentz and the new name, the Commanders. We're going to move it along to – no, okay. Just – guys, what do you have on the Commanders? They got a pretty good wide receiver out there in Terry McLaurin. I think he's primed for a bounce-back year. I also think rather highly of their tight end. Yeah. But all in all, the Chase Young injury off the rip, Kerrigan is no longer a member of the team.
That's a big loss.
Yeah, Kerrigan was a very underrated ball player.
Yeah.
And a guy that used to love to play Eli Manning.
Yes.
I got them as the worst team in this division. And mainly because I am not convinced that Carson Wentz is going to go a full year and not get dinged up. But he is in the right offense if there ever was a right coaching situation for him. I do think that Carson Wentz found that. I do have a lot of respect for their head coach, Ron Rivera. They had some moments last year where, or even going back to 2020, where there were different junctures of the year where it looked like they could have taken the next step, but they didn't. Carson Wentz is a Band-Aid to me. I think his best is long behind him. I don't think you'll ever see the guy from 2015 through 2017. I don't think that's his stature anymore. But I do like their defense, even with some of the injuries, and I do think they're going to compete. I've got Washington going a respectable 6-11, but I think where their Waterloo is going to come and why they don't have more wins is because I think there is a distinct possibility that they could get swept in this division.
You want to go for Zap?
So this is the team that I have not really been wanting to talk about because I don't want to say what I'm about to say about them.
Because they don't have a fucking name. Or now they do. But go ahead.
But no, you look at this team. They went.
It took 2 years to come up with that shit. Sorry, Zach. Sorry.
No, it's all right.
Daniel Snyder is a douchebag. No, I'm sorry.
Well, that's one of the points I was going to make. Actually, is Daniel
Make
Snyder.
that point.
No, so you look at this team that went 7-10 last year with the likes of Taylor Heineke as your number one quarterback. Where if he's not that quarterback, they win a couple other games and they're in the playoffs. And then you look at their defense. Even with Chase Young being out at least 4 weeks, they still have a very, very good defense and a very, very, very good front seven. You cannot take away anything from Jerron Payne, Jonathan Allen, and Montez Sweat. They are very good. So they'll hold their own. I'm also expecting a guy like Jamin Davis, their first-round pick from last year, to step up even bigger of a role this year. And then I look at their offense. That offense, again, was orchestrated by Taylor Heineke for 16 games and then Garrett Gilbert the 17th game because Taylor was out for a week. And they still went 7-10. They still have their running backs coming back. You know, they have a good receiver in Terry McLaurin.
Prime for a bounce back. That I will say.
Yeah, but the reason why I think the offense is going to do better is because of the drafting of Jahan Dotson, wide receiver from Penn State. I believe he actually opens their offense up. And like you said this team is built for Carson Wentz. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Commanders team finishing 11-6, winning the division. I know. Because when you look at their schedule is actually favorable. I don't think they're going to get swept this year. I think they're going to have a pretty good division record, actually. Unlike last year, they went into the final, 5 games, 6-6, and they were all against NFC East teams. That's a rarity. So I do expect them to bounce back. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they win 11 games, but I believe they're going to win 7 games again, more likely 8. And that 8th win is going to be week 18 against the Cowboys at their home field. So I have them finishing 3rd this year. I do believe the addition of Carson Wentz actually helps them out because Carson Wentz is a better quarterback than Taylor Heineke. Let's be real.
I agree with that. But my question to you is, do you think that Carson Wentz is going to survive the season?
Well, that narrative has kind of changed if you really think about it. Yes, he was considered that injury-prone quarterback, but last year he played all but 1. The year before that, he played 13.
I bet they wish he didn't play in that final game against Jacksonville.
Oh, guarantee it. But no, yeah, that's been his question mark ever since 2017 when he tore his ACL to the Rams, is whether he could stay healthy. That was one of his question marks.
Then the Clowney hit. I mean, let's keep it a buck. Clowney tried to fucking hurt him. It is what it is.
He did.
Yeah, he did.
No, he did. But yeah, I think the division is going to finish off the same way with the first 2 teams, the Giants in last, the Commandos. Yes, I said Commandos in third. And they're just going to be – I believe their defense is going to carry them.
Okay.
I believe you're high as fuck. Idris, go ahead.
Yeah, I think you got too high. I mean, I like what you're smoking because, damn, if I had that, I wouldn't have cursed out my granddaughter's mother. But anyway. No, not 11 games. No, they won't sniff 11.
No, I'm not predicting them to win 11. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if they won 11.
I would be surprised if they won 11. I would be surprised. I'm saying 6 games, maybe 7.
Maybe Carson Wentz plays 11 games.
Yeah, because see, Wentz is a better quarterback than Heineke. Yes, we know that. But you know what? Heineke was tough-minded.
Mm-hmm.
Heineke had it up here.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't rattle him. Carson Wentz is weak up here. Very weak.
I want to say one thing about Heineke to jump on you, and then I'm going to put it back to you. When you look at the 2020 Buccaneers playoff run, Heineke actually had the best performance of all quarterbacks. And this is a team that beat Drew Brees.
Mm-hmm.
This is a team that beat Aaron Rodgers and a team that beat Patrick Mahomes. And Heineke, or Heineke, however you pronounce it, actually had the best game against the Bucs. Now, I do believe that part of that reason was because he was playing for an injured Alex Smith. There wasn't a whole lot of film on him in terms of at the NFL level. And I think he did catch them off guard. I also think Tampa came out a little flat, which is why I'm aggravated that Philly laid down, because the G-men would have beat them. That's a whole other conversation. The 6-10 G-men would have beat them. I said it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. It didn't happen. Go ahead, Idris. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're right. And if you look at Carson Wentz when it counts, just look at last year against Jacksonville. They were supposed to win that game. Going away. They were supposed to win that game. You had the best running back in the league. Arguably the best running back in the league. You had an offensive line. Yeah, you just need the quarterback to show up. Mm-hmm. He didn't show up.
Yeah,
he didn't show up.
Mm-hmm.
In Philly, he didn't. He did what he did, but he got hurt. And when he came back, he was grumpy. He won't show up here.
Yeah, he wouldn't show up, but at the same time, Indianapolis had a good defense, and they didn't exactly show up against that Jaguar offense either.
But 11
so we
points.
Can't forget that.
11 points.
Yeah, I understand. No, I get 11 points, but
11 points
but are they really going to make up for those other 16 points and score 27 as well? 28, actually?
I just think Indy as a whole came into that game thinking that they just could cruise.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Feeling pretty good about themselves because they pushed around the New England Patriots and they pushed around the Buffalo Bills within the same few weeks. I think they just tipped, like similar to when Jacksonville beat Buffalo last year.
I think
they sleepwalked and still a professional team, and these are still grown men that are going to play with pride.
A Ron Rivera team is going to be defensive. I mean, so I'm not going to take nothing away from the Washington.
He's a good coach.
Yeah, they're going to have the defense rolling. I think Wentz will have a good year, but you're in the NFC East, and you know how we play. No matter what's going on outside the division, when we play each other, we're like the SEC. When we play each other, we go at each other. And with us, the Giants, we always beat the Redskins. I mean, not the Redskins. Washington. We always beat them. No matter how bad our season we have, we always beat them.
Last year was the first time that they got the better of us in a very long time.
Yeah, but we always beat them.
And, I mean, that was with the likes at the end of the year with Mike Glennon and Jake Fromm.
Jake Fromm, from State Farm, So
that dude
I'm saying 6-11, man.
Yeah, 6-11 because I don't wish it on anyone, but I do think Carson Wentz is going to miss time.
Me too.
And I also don't think they're that good. I think that they're imbalanced on one side of the ball. I do think their defense is legit.
Yeah, I think the defense is going to be awesome.
But I do not believe that their offense is going to be as cohesive as Zappy sees it.
I don't either.
Well, here's one thing to piggyback off of what both of you are saying. You both think Carson Wentz is going to miss time, but yet you both advocated about Taylor Heineke, that he actually plays well. Well, he's still there. So if Carson Wentz misses time, Taylor Heineke is going to come right into that offense, knowing
so
it.
They'll be able to cover more spreads. 6-11.
There you go. No, I look at that. So 8-9. Yeah.
6-11.
6-11.
I'm going to be on that Brett shit when you
They
pissed
might
off
get
the
7.
Patriots. 6-11.
I'm saying 6-11.
They might actually draft a quarterback for once. Since first one that of any value since RG3.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Dwayne Haskins. They had, it wasn't meant to be for him over there, but hey. But I did think that Haskins may have been that dude. Unfortunately, he wasn't. The Philadelphia Eagles finished second last year lost in the wild card round in Tampa is where it ended. It was a great day for Giant fans that day. The Cowboys, Eagles were eliminated within hours of each other. Pretty good stuff.
That was great.
We see their key additions mainly via the draft. James Bradbury joining Darius Slay. That is an excellent, excellent combo. A.J. Brown, I'm not incredibly high on this for one reason and one reason only. My concern is that veteran wide receiver gets frustrated with young quarterback. And I also do believe that if he gets disgruntled, he can show some poor habits to a very impressionable Devontae Smith.
Yeah.
Having said all that, as much as it pains me to say this, because I hate this team more than any other team in professional football. But when I look at the injuries to Dallas, which we haven't even hit yet, when I look at two teams in Washington and in East Rutherford that are both rebuilding, I think it's the perfect storm for the Eagles to win the division. Do I think that they match up well with the NFC's elite? No, not really. But I do think that they're going to win this division, and I do think that they're going to win this division by more than a game. I'm going 11-6 for the Philadelphia Eagles. NFC East champs. God, I hate to say that. I think James Bradbury is going to look a lot more like the 2020 version of himself. It was a loss that the Giants had to make because they're not contenders right now. It's a painful one because as a Giant fan, I was hoping that he would have went to the Raiders because the Raiders showed some serious interest in him. Ultimately, he goes to Philly, and I get it. He stays in the division. No bad for him. I enjoyed watching him play for the Giants. Eagles have a very good offensive line. Eagles have a very good front seven, and I would not be the least bit surprised if they are in the top 10 in overall team defense, given how talented their secondary is. But if there's something that can go wrong, I do believe that the pressure is going to be on Jalen Hurts to perform and he's going to be put in some decent situations in terms of field position. Mm-hmm. The running game, Miles Sanders has been hurt a lot.
Yeah. I
actually think rather highly of Kenneth Gainwell, and I think he's going to have a pretty good year. And that's also a dope-ass name for a running back.
Yeah.
11-6 for the Eagles. Early exit from the playoffs.
I agree. I say 11-6. Bradbury's going to be a major addition with Slay. That's going to be tough to throw over there, both sides of the field. A.J. Brown, I think his ego is bigger than his game. He got game.
Mm-hmm.
He got game, but he's going to get frustrated because when he was with what's his name? He was getting the ball. I mean,
you talking about Tennessee?
Tennessee, yeah, he was getting.
Well, he was frustrated with Tannehill.
With Tannehill also.
That's not the sexiest offense for any receivers to be in.
And he had Julio Jones for the short time he had him.
Yeah, that wasn't a good fit for Julio either for a litany of reasons.
Couldn't stay healthy, but I think he'll get frustrated. I think Philly will still run the ball more like they did last year.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think they're sold on Hurts like we're not sold on Daniel Jones. I don't think they're sold on him.
No, Gardner Minshew is still behind.
Yeah. He's
that could be intriguing if Hurts struggles. I think they're going to be patient with Hurts.
I think so.
But like I said, that's the thing that can go awry is that when you bring in a disgruntled veteran that's already his reputation is starting to slide a little, that you always run the risk of having issues with a young quarterback that the organization is willing to be patient with. But if things click on all cylinders, this is a very talented team.
And with Philly, if you look at their history, they're just like Washington. They're not loyal to the quarterbacks.
Mm-mm.
Look at them. They're not loyal. They weren't loyal to McNabb, Vic, Foles. What's that?
Bro,
guy?
they broke a generational hex and still got rid of him.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not. Kevin Cobb. That's what I'm thinking about. They're not loyal to quarterbacks. If you look bad one season, they're ready to get rid of you. Mm-hmm. And no stability. I think I say 11-6. The defense is going to be their calling card. They're going to do their thing. First round exit, one and done.
And the beautiful thing about picking them is that I could always put the kibosh on them by picking them.
Yeah.
And maybe this is like a really strange season where Dallas nurses all kinds of injuries. Yeah. Philly has implosion. Because I remember in 2011, everybody was writing down Philly as the short thing. And there was another team that punched in the mouth that year. I don't believe in everything always having to do with history. These are new players, new teams, new regimes. But I do think that this division in general is getting a lot better. But I have the Eagles winning it at 11-6. Yeah. Zap, what do you think, dude?
I don't want to say it.
Hey, we already did, so you might as well make it the hat trick.
Look. The Eagles were 3-6 last year. 3-6 and relying on Jalen Hurts to lead them to win. And what did they do? They started running the ball, and they turned into a running offense, and they finished the year 6-2 and snuck into the playoffs.
Yeah.
The Eagles have the best offensive line in football.
I think you could say that and be right about that. Yes, I agree.
The healthiest. They've been
They've been healthy. Yeah. They have the healthiest offensive line, and I think it's pretty safe to assume that the Eagles are going to go into this year focusing on establishing the run and keeping it at a much easier level for the likes of Jalen Hurts. Mm-hmm. And then you look at their defense. They added James Bradberry, and a lot of your Homer Cowboy fans or Homer fans, James Bradberry's garbage. He couldn't cover Amari Cooper. He couldn't cover CeeDee Lamb. He's legit, and not only that, he went to a team where he's not going to be the number one cornerback. He's going to be responsible covering for your number twos. That is a lot.
Let me feed on what you just said, Zappy. And because you can't cover Amari Cooper doesn't make you a scrub. Amari Cooper's good.
No, he's good. Yeah,
he's good.
He's good. But
Bradberry can play.
Yeah,
it's a painful loss for us. It's just Dave Gettleman left that organization in shambles in terms of financial irresponsibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the draft comes, and I was there, and there was two players I did not want to see the Eagles acquire. It was Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean. And by some miracle, Nakobe Dean drops to them in the second round. They get Jordan Davis at 13.
Yep.
And now I'm sitting there thinking to myself, their defensive line is one of the better ones in football. They can punch you in the mouth.
Yeah.
So first of all, you got to deal with Fletcher Cox. And when Fletcher gets tired, you're going to deal with a fresh young Jordan Davis,
right out the
6'5", 344-pound guy that can run the 40 the way he runs it. I mean, there was videos of him in practice where it's three guys trying to block him and they can't do it.
I was frustrated that the Giants had an opportunity. And no knock on Wan'Dale Robinson. I do actually think he is the new wave of receivers that is making a lot of sense in today's league. But I wouldn't have taken him there. And I do think the Giants missed the boat on that because if there's a weakness, well, there's a few. But linebacking corps in terms of what works, Giants are a little bit behind. I was actually surprised that Blake Martinez came back, but given that he took a pay cut, him and Shepard will not be Giants in 2023. I would be surprised. Two players that I really like. Two players that I really, really like, but just being honest.
But yeah, and then you look at other things like Hassan Reddick. That's another big one right there. This defense is built to win. Mm-hmm. And the one thing you guys haven't mentioned is this division has the easiest schedule in football. Easiest schedule.
Yeah, play the South.
And play the South, the AFC South. What does that say?
Nothing. The Jaguars and Texans are pretty bad, bro.
Exactly.
And Malik Willis might be starting midway through the year, and he's going to have his learning curves and growing pains.
Exactly. So it's built for this team to do well. On paper, they have a damn good team. And I don't want to compare them to the 2011 team because they didn't do this via free agency, going out there and spending millions and millions of dollars to build this team. They built this team the right way through the draft, and they added key additions. A.J. Brown is another one, though. While he does have a bit of a hothead at times on him, he actually compliments Devontae Smith and opens the field up.
Oh no! From a talent standpoint, he is a godsend for both the tight end and the other wide receiver. It's just that is the one thing I'm concerned about.
Yeah. Right. I get. But what I'm getting at is I believe his addition. Mm-hmm. I believe his addition helps out. And where this Eagles offense is going to be good. I hate saying this, and I truly believe I'm saying this today because of the injury to Tyron Smith. I have this team actually now finishing 12-5. If you look at all their tough games, they're all at home, with the exception of going to Arizona, but that's early in the year. So other than that, I mean, all of their difficult games are at home. And then you have that crowd behind you at home when you're a good team. It's one of the hardest places to win. So I have them 12-5, winning the division, and possibly now finishing up as a top 2 seed. And I'm so mad that I'm saying that, but it's just the likely 3 seed because they still got to get past the Rams and the Buccaneers.
Even with Tampa's struggles with a lot of roster issues, their division is still weak enough where they will be able to get through it. But that
whole division is rebuilding, except for
I think the Panthers, believe it or not, have a defense that can keep them around if CMC stays healthy. I don't want to cross into the other divisions too much. We're going to be doing more NFL shows as the season moves into the beginning.
And the reason why I think they would finish the 2 seed ahead of the Rams, because I have both of them finishing 12-5, is due to the simple fact that the Eagles are going to have a better division record and a better conference record. Because let's face it, the Rams have a much tougher schedule, and I believe a lot more of their losses are going to come from the NFC side than the AFC.
Oh, they definitely have a tougher schedule, but they're also more battle tested. In order for the Eagles to be the 2 seed, that means that week in and week out, they're always going to beat who they're supposed to beat. And I'm not quite ready to anoint that. We'll see, though. We'll see.
We'll see. That, like I said, this is my opinion changed a lot about the Eagles over the last 24 hours. When I texted you yesterday, pissed off about Tyron Smith. That is the reason why. I believe, and because also the other thing in football, if you have momentum, it's really hard to break it. And like I said, look at their schedule. They can build momentum all throughout the year. They have a very winnable schedule.
It's the perfect storm for them to win the East. But I'll be honest with you, I'm done talking about it.
Yeah, I agree. Let me go on my rant about
another team that I'm very fond of. Zappy's Cowboys won the NFC East. They lost in the wild card round. An episode of Cheaters also aired right after that. Dickhead. Key losses: Amari Cooper via trade, Randy Gregory via free agency, key additions: Tyler Williams, Sam Williams, Jalen Tolbert, all via the draft. There was a big injury. You can elaborate on that right now, Zappy.
So I'll start with this. Coming into the offseason, there was one thing Dallas needed to work on. Actually, 2. It was, number 1, find a swing tackle. Because there's this one, number 77, a future Hall of Famer, that has not necessarily shown his ability to stay healthy over the last 6 years. Since 2015, he has missed at least 3 games every year. And then, of course, over the last 2 seasons, he missed 20 games. Mm-hmm. So, coming into this offseason, that should tell you, hey, we need to get a swing tackle, and we need to get ourselves in the future. Mm-hmm. And then, hey, let's go ahead and release La'el Collins because he was suspended 5 games last year, and then he lied about his hip surgery 2 years before that. Knowing that Tyron Smith has not been a very reliable option. La'el Collins is the guy that could have easily slid over to the left side. Terrence Steele started right.
And now currently a member of the Cincinnati Bengals.
And he was needed over there. Yeah, he was needed in both. Either way, he was needed in both. So now Tyron Smith suffered what could be a season-ending injury. They're calling it a 3 to 4 month. It's going to depend on his healing. Of course, he's about to be 32 this year, so obviously we know it's going to take a little longer. Plus, he's been injury-prone. So suffering an avulsion fracture is not pretty. I've had that same injury. It sucks. Mm-hmm. It sucks a lot. And now you're talking about an NFL player that deals with putting a lot of pressure on your legs as a blocker. So I believe that loss actually is costing Dallas more games this year than people believe, because now I'm starting to think back to the 2018 Cowboys where, we didn't have Amari Cooper, who we just traded this offseason to the Cleveland Browns. Another prime example of you need to be available. I truly believe that Amari Cooper was traded to the Browns because of his refusal to get the vaccine, and because of that, he missed 2 games last year, which they were 2 very important games. So now we're talking about the Cowboys, who were number 1 offense in the NFL last year, missing your anchor, the possibly the second most important position in the NFL behind the quarterback position, and you're putting in a Josh Bell who has not proven anything yet. They drafted Tyler Smith, but they drafted him to be the heir apparent, but to be left guard right now. Yes, he played left tackle in college, but he also went up against weaker opponents, and he has a history of holding a lot of penalties, holding penalties, and he's already shown it a couple times in preseason as well. So, and then the most important time for a rookie to develop them is during training camp.
That's the kid out of Tulsa, right?
Yeah. And they've been developing him all offseason as a left guard. And now I don't think they're going to slide him into left tackle. I just don't see it. But then it goes back to last year where they should have, Rashawn Slater was there. They traded back. They took Micah Parsons, a draft pick I'm not upset about at all, but they knew they needed to draft the future offensive lineman. They blew it. Now this Dallas team is in shambles. I mean, it's in complete shambles. Our receiving core is weak. Our offensive line is now weak. What was once a great strength is pretty much a weakness now. We have the tight end position. We franchise tagged Dalton Schultz, where I don't think it makes sense. I think Jake Ferguson's going to turn out to be a better tight end than him. I have Dallas doing well defensively. I think their defense is going to make strides, even more strides. I think they're going to get more pressure on the quarterback. I believe the defense will be the reason why we win more games, and we will be in a lot of games. But Dak not having the protector of his blind side, it brings back flashes of playing the Falcons and Adrian Claiborne when he just went off. So, I look at Dallas, and I had them as an 11-win team, possibly 12 again, just based on their schedule, how easy it is. But now with the loss of Tyron Smith for what is probably likely the rest of his career, I have them finishing 9-8, maybe 10-7, maybe. But I think there's going to be some rough roads ahead for this team. They're not going to be able to stop the physical defensive attacks by the Eagles. They're going to, and everyone's saying Dallas can run the ball. We don't have the line to run the ball. So, we still have Zach Martin. They have Tyler Biadasz, who's a better run blocker than he is a pass blocker. If they try to move Terrence Steele to left tackle, it's going to hurt us bad. So, you
guys got to hope that newer faces or guys doing things that they're not used to doing step up and thrive in those roles. Sometimes it happens. On one positive note, albeit you guys are not the O-line you once were, the combination of Pollard and Zeke is still a top 5 duo in the NFL. But yes, I agree with you about the 9-8 finish. I do want to mention this. I think Dak Prescott's also going to struggle because of the fact that Amari Cooper is a massive loss. And I do believe that it's an underrated loss that's going to be proven and showing its ugly face. And I also will say this. While I like Michael Gallup, I was a little taken back that they didn't want Cedric Wilson. Gallup's coming off a rough injury. I also think that this is going to lead to Mike McCarthy being fired. And they're going to bring in Sean Payton next year. I think that's why Sean Payton fake retired from New Orleans to begin with. I don't think I'm stretching that much on that or reaching that much. That is my opinion. 9-8. They're going to miss the playoffs too.
I say, I'm glad you mentioned Cedric Wilson because I was going to say he was coming on.
Yeah,
he was.
Yeah.
And with CeeDee Lamb, when he has the ball, the guy can go, but he has a lot of drops.
He's going to miss Amari.
Yeah,
Amari made his life easier.
Amari made his life easy.
And the fact that Dallas doesn't have a number 2 right now,
you're
gonna slide the coverage over to CeeDee Lamb.
You have a number 2 and a bunch of number 3s because Lamb. Listen, he's talented as shit.
Yeah,
but having a veteran on the opposite side, a guy that is not, demanding the ball always, dude, it's gonna be rough go. You're gonna have some good weeks that are gonna give you hope. All in all, though, with the injuries recently. And with an imbalance of certain players that have left, might be getting forced into earlier retirements, injuries, etc. There's some cap issues as well.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe Zeke, this is his final year as a Cowboy. You never know for sure because, there's always ways to drive contracts into latter parts of the incentive-based, yada, yada. But I do think he's on the way out, which is all the more reason why I was a little taken back that they didn't invest in Amari Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
9-8, winning record, missing the playoffs.
Yeah, I think Pollard is a good running back. And I think he's going to make a lot happen because catching passes out of the back, the guy's crazy. You give him the ball on the back, he's gone. You can't catch him. He'll do well. I said receiving. I don't know, man. Just with Cooper being gone, the defense is going to be the defense. You got Dan Quinn, and Dan Quinn got that defense like acting a fool out there. I'm saying I want to say 10-7 because Dallas doesn't have the pressure on them. I mean, of course, we're gonna always say we got to say because we don't like Cowboys, but
I'll be honest.
I don't think
I disagree with you there.
No, I mean they got the pressure on them
because their owner has such a big mouth.
I mean,
that he always puts that fucking target on them, even when they're not that good or when they have a situation where they could kind of be under the radar.
Right. I mean,
he takes that away from them.
That pressure, but everyone's looking at Philly because Philly is stacked from top to bottom.
Yeah.
Dallas has to win because they're Dallas. They're the Cowboys.
I also think Philly has a better coach. Mike McCarthy is overrated big time in my mind.
When they hired Mike McCarthy, I told all my Dallas friends, y'all hired Jason Garrett 2.0. I said the difference between Jason Garrett, Mike McCarthy has a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, Mike McCarthy also had the luxury of coaching Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers.
Right. I said he don't care nothing about the run. He loves to throw the ball. I said you'll see because I said look, Zeke's numbers are going to go down. No, he's not. I said Zeke's numbers are going to go down because that's Mike McCarthy. That's how he does things. He had Aaron Rodgers up there. Zeke's got some high mileage on him. Yeah, he had a lot of running backs up in Green Bay, but he wanted to run and he wanted to throw the ball. Let Aaron Rodgers do it. When he had Matt Flynn in there, throw the ball. That's like I think this is it. This is it for him this year.
Yeah, and if you look at Dallas, you could see the turning of the guards where this offense was designed to run the ball at one point.
Yes.
And Zeke, he is a 2-time rushing champ.
Going back to 16 and 17 when Dak was still learning his way, navigating around being an everyday starter.
16 and 18.
Romo was there for a long time.
Right. No, it was 16 and 18. It would have probably been 17 as well, but he was suspended the 6 games in 17.
Yeah.
I look at this team and you bring up Jerry and Steven, and this is where I'm about to lose my mind, is the fact that they are ignoring all these things. And the reason why they're ignoring all these things is because we have to face it. I know the Cowboys fans don't want to face it. There's so many Homer fans out there. Oh, we're the Cowboys, blah, blah, blah. We are valued as an $8 billion franchise. So in the eyes of Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones, they're doing everything right. And rightfully so. I mean, how much they bought that team for $500,000?
Right.
So, it's like
pretty insane.
I know Jerry continues to preach every season, every offseason. It's the same thing every year. We want to win the Super Bowl. We're going to do this. But now it's we have to do our due diligence when it comes to the cap. I don't know how the Rams are signing everybody and they're still under the cap. You can definitely manipulate the cap. Dallas, to me, I think this, to piggyback off what you said, Richie, everything that's happening and the fact that they're not making any moves to address the wide receiver position, the tackle position. I mean, if they go out there and if they go sign an Eric Fisher or Andrew Whitworth, which they did talk to Andrew Whitworth tonight about, he has received a couple of phone calls from Dallas.
I still think he's done, but we'll see.
Oh, I think he's done too. I definitely think he's done. I mean, he got his Super Bowl. He doesn't need to prove anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a reason why at the end of that conversation you're asking the wrong guy. You need to be speaking to Mrs. Whitworth.
Right.
But if they can go out and go get an Eric Fisher, that's going to help them out. I just don't see them doing it. I think the best case scenario now is put Tyler Smith there at left tackle, find out what he is. Can he do it? Can he recover from all those penalties from college? If he can and we show some promise, then cool. If not, we got a long stretch. This right now, Jerry and Steven have set up Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy to fail. We're going to separate from Mike McCarthy after this year. And quite frankly, I believe Dak Prescott has 2 years left with this team. And I think after next year, we separate from him because we can from his contract.
I'm going to be honest with you. I have a feeling that because of some misplayed contracts, I have a feeling that in another 2-3 years, there could be that dark period for the Cowboys comparable to what they experienced for the 1980s.
There won't be. There actually won't be, because their contract, the way they designed them, and with the exploding salary cap that's coming up next year from the new TV deals, they're going to be fine. And that's why us as Dallas Cowboys fans, it's been frustrating that they haven't gone out there and spent the money on key free agent additions, because when it comes to the future, we are nowhere in shape as like the Saints are. All our big name players are all spread out, where the cap hits, the big cap hits are gone. Tank taking a pay reduction helps out the cap. They can separate from Zeke. That helps with the cap. If he comes back, it's going to be on a much lower deal. CeeDee Lamb's going to demand that 25 per, especially if he comes out big this year. But really, it's going to be about signing all their defensive players in 2 years.
He wants that 25 per. He's got to get them drops down.
He got to get his drops down.
Anything you guys want to wrap on the Cowboys before I go to the final part of the show?
Yeah, I think Jerry Jones. I've been watching football since, 69. I was 5 years old. Jerry Jones got away from Dallas Cowboy football. Because if you look at all the great Dallas teams, you had the quarterback back from Don Meredith. You had the running back, Tony Dorsett. You always had that number one receiver, Drew Pearson, on one side.
The real 88.
Tony Hill or Butch Johnson on the other side. Then you had Golden Richards. You had a tight end. You had Billy Joe Dupree. Then you move on down past the Staubach era. You go to the Aikman era. You had Emmett, Moose, Michael Irvin on one side, Harper on the other side, Novacek as a tight end. Even the Romo era, you had DeMarco Murray, Tashard Choice. Let's go back to Marion Barber. You had Marion Barber. You had T.O. You always had that number one receiver. Yeah, you had Tashard Choice. You always had the number one receiver, T.O., and whoever's on the other side, and you always had your tight end. Then later on in Romo's career, DeMarco Murray, what's his name? Oh, I got his face in my head too.
Darren McFadden.
Damn, I forgot McFadden was there.
McFadden.
You know what? You know what's crazy, man? In the beginning, when we were talking about what they currently have and what they recently lost, Cooper, Zeke, Dak. Initially, I was thinking this could have been something similar to the triplets.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that it unfortunately, what I see with the star power in Dallas is that I feel that everyone's peak is missing everyone's beginnings and vice versa. And it's just kind of like a weird collage of shit happening at one time. And that's why they have consistently been inconsistent. Well, there's a lot of reasons why.
And you can blame a lot of that because if you say Romo doesn't get hurt in 16 or if he plays in the playoffs, it's quite possible that we actually advance and make it to the Super Bowl that year.
Well, you guys were going to beat the Giants finally?
The Giants are we don't want to talk
number one defense in the league. Number one defense in the league that year, and the boat trip doesn't change that fact.
Oh, it changed everything.
In the NFC, we were 2 in the league. Pats had the number one defense.
But
then we took out.
But in all reality, that team, that Dallas Cowboys team, was designed for Tony Romo.
Yes.
Dak Prescott came out and exploded.
And I said that to you. If Romo plays against Green Bay, they win that game.
They win that game.
They win. And and you say that the times didn't match up. They did. It's just the injuries happened with Romo. 2014.
The margin between winning a bowl and getting outed in the second round. Yeah.
Very small.
You know who y'all needed?
Very small.
If y'all just had the right coach.
Well, if Parcells didn't dip, I think T.O. really burned him down.
Yeah.
I think Jerry also really burned him down. If Bill Parcells, I'm sure a lot of Cowboys fans would share my sentiment that they wish they had Bill Parcells in 2007 when they played the Giants, as opposed to Wade Phillips. I do think that from the coaching standpoint, between the combination of Steve Spagnuolo running the defense and Tom Coughlin, I do believe that they were severely outcoached. And, it's hard to beat a team 3 times, which to Zappy's point would have been tough for the Giants to do because we had beaten them twice in 2016. They only had 3 losses that year, and the third loss was because they laid down and they were kind of like chilling out. Before we get out of here, I want to make a mention of some legendary players in the NFC East. I want offense and defense, 2, 1 each for each franchise. Eli Manning, Lawrence Taylor, Darrell Green, John Riggins, Roger Staubach, Ed Too Tall Jones, Randall Cunningham, and Reggie White. Got a couple of minutes if we just want to keep it on our teams. Idris, pick a Giant. Elaborate.
That's hard, dude. LT is I'm going with Eli. I mean, LT obviously was the greatest Giant. But I'm gonna go with Eli. I say Eli because he was tough. You couldn't rattle him. And people forget that he really didn't have that much talent around him. When he won a Super Bowl,
he did and he didn't.
Right. Well, when he won a Super Bowl, they didn't stick around. Manningham left. Everyone left, and he
first team too. Lost Steve Smith rather quickly.
Yeah, and the second time, same thing. And I always felt if Plaxico didn't shoot himself, that team would have stayed together, we would have done it again.
I will say this though, and this came up recently. If Plaxico doesn't shoot himself, I'm not a firm believer. We would have won in 2008, but I'm not 100% sure if we win in 2011 because Plaxico shooting himself led to the team drafting Hakeem Nicks.
Yeah.
Victor Cruz got his opportunity that year because of the knee injury to Dominique Hickson.
Right.
It took a lot of and Plaxico choosing to go to the Jets as opposed to coming back to the Giants. I want to make a quick mention on this, not my team. Darrell Green, in my genuine opinion, is arguably the greatest cornerback of all time. I know the popular choice is frequently Deion Sanders, and I have a lot of respect for Deion. He cut off half the field. But in order to be the best at a position, you have to be able to do everything at that position. And Deion Sanders is not a good tackler. No disrespect. Calling it like I see it.
I always felt he's the best corner.
Roger Staubach, in my opinion, is the greatest Cowboys quarterback, and they've had quite a few good ones, even though Troy has more hardware. Randall Cunningham, to me, kind of revolutionized the running quarterback aspect of things. And Reggie White, in my genuine opinion, is the second greatest defensive player to ever play the sport behind only Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah, Roger was my dude. I ain't gonna lie. I was a Roger fan. I ain't gonna lie. I'm a Roger fan.
Fellas, we got shit. That's dope. We got 90 seconds. Go ahead.
I paid my homage to Roger Staubach.
I would say, while we're talking history of these teams, a lot of Eagles fans would argue about putting Nick Foles on there.
Yeah, I mean, he did break the curse.
He broke the curse.
He's relieved.
As a backup quarterback.
Horse shit.
Yeah, he's
a dog shit or something.
He had to be horse shit.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. And then as far as Dallas, I love Ed Too Tall Jones. I do. I mean, he was one of the anchors of
30 seconds.
But we're going to be talking about Micah Parsons as the greatest Dallas Cowboy defender and quite possibly the greatest defender to ever play the game in 20 years from now. Anyways.
Guys, thank you very much. There was a lot to unpack, and that's why I'm looking forward to doing more shows on this.
Yeah.
I had a good time. I still feel that there's more to talk about. Until next time, I'm Richie. He's Idris. He's Zappy. Thank you so much for watching. It's the NFC East, and we are out.